A pleasant day to everyone. Today, we're going to talk about how to write a good research questions. Overview. The purpose, types of research questions, qualities of a good research questions, checklist of guidelines in selecting a research topic, creating a good research questions, and examples. Purpose of a research questions. A research identified by the researcher keeps him focused throughout the entire research process. It is a basis of all subsequent research activities he is going to undertake. It guides him to the hypothesis, work plan, interpretation of findings, and finally to the conclusion. Each steps in the process and its corresponding output is deemed necessary and is useful as it relates to the problem. It provides the backbone of our study. It can answer meaningful questions in everyday life and practical issues. And it can address gaps in past research. One of the evaluation criteria used to judge the success of the research is the significance of the identified problem. Another one, it should be guided by theories. Types of a research questions. Descriptive research question, relationship types of research question, comparative types of research questions, causality types of research questions. For the descriptive type of research questions, usually starts with what is or are, how many, how often, how much, how frequently. Example: what is the antimitotic properties of piper beta leaf ethanolic crude extract? What factors affect the index of refraction of sugar solution? What is the antioxidant properties of lichens? How much water should a person who runs an hour each morning drink per day? Relationship type of research questions. Is there an association between the variables? Usually, a research starts with what is the relationship between. Correlational studies and some quasi-experiments is a type of relationship research questions. Sometimes used when the only independent variable is a subject characteristics like sex, race, age, and many more. Example: what is the relationship between sex and calorie consumption in professional athletes? What is the relationship between age and income in high school teachers? What is the relationship of study time, IQ, and hours of sleep on the test scores in junior high school freshman students? What is the relationship of light intensity to the foraging behavior of stingless bees? Comparative type of research questions. Is there a difference between groups? It usually starts with what is the difference in or between. This particular comparative type of research questions are used for experiments and some quasi-experiments. It is typical when there is only one independent variable and one dependent variable. Example: what is the difference between water hyacinth extract and commercial pesticide in eliminating termites? What is the difference between drug A and drug B in reducing the time of blood coagulation? What is the difference in IQ scores of public and private high school students? Causality type of research question. Is there an effect of one variable on the other variable? Or how does one level of the independent variable differ from the other level? It is usually start with the question, What is the effect of? How do differ from in? Is better than, at, for, or in? This particular type of causality type of questions or research questions are used for experimental type of research. Typical when there are more than two levels for the independent variable or variables or multiple independent variables. Example: what is the effect of aloe vera extract 0.1%, 0.05%, 0.025% on the rate of growth and regeneration of planaria? What is the effect of alcohol consumptions 0 ml, 100 ml, 200 ml on the decision making? Qualities of a good research question. It should be interesting. It should be useful, focused and clear, specific in terms of variables, relationship, and population. It is always useful to refer to some criteria when one has to decide on what research to pursue. In the identification of the research problem, several things must be considered. The statement of the problem must be clear. It must be organized and specific. It must define the scope and set the limits of the problem to help determine the feasibility of doing the actual investigations. The statement of the problem identifies or specifies the variables to be measured and observed. Some of these variables are manipulated by the investigator. Some are response variables, and the others are held constant or controlled. The statement of the problem sets the objectives or goals of the study. It also states the sub-problems. Here are the checklist of guidelines in selecting a research topic. You have to respond yes if you agree and no if you don't agree. Is the problem interesting? Will the research contribute to the solution of socio-economically important problems? Will the research generate new information? Is the research novel? Do I have the skills or knowledge necessary to conduct the research, or can I learn them within the time I have? Is the research feasible in terms of time required to finish the research? Expense involved in conducting the research? Availability of materials for experimentation? Accessibility of materials for experimentation? Risks and hazards involved in conducting the experiment? And lastly, is the research reproducible? Creating a good research question. Make a list of topics. Choose a type of questions, whether it is descriptive, relationships, comparative, or causality. Then you begin a question. For descriptive, you can begin your questions by asking how many, how often, how much, how frequently, what is or are. For the relationship, you could ask, what is the relationship? For the comparative, what is the difference? And for causality, what is the effect? You must also identify the variables. You have to identify the independent variables and the dependent variables. And lastly, you must identify the groups and population. Let's try to look for some examples. Examples in creating a descriptive research questions. In my mind, I have a list of topics like antioxidants and lichens. My chosen type of question is descriptive, so I can begin my question by asking what is. In my variables, I don't have any independent variables, while my dependent variables is antioxidant. The groups of populations that I understand here is about lichens. Now my question is, what is the antioxidant properties of lichens? Example number 2. Creating a relationship research questions. In my mind, I have a list of topics such as foraging behaviors and stingless bees. I choose the type of questions relationship. So I can begin my question by what is the relationships? My independent variables is light intensity, while my dependent variables is foraging behavior. And of course, my population is stingless bees. My question now is, what is the relationship of light intensity to the foraging behavior of stingless bees? Number 3, examples. Creating a comparative type of research questions. In my mind, I have a list of topics such as water hyacinth extract, commercial pesticides, and termites. My chosen type of question is comparative, so I can begin my question by what is the difference? My independent variable are the following: water hyacinth extract and commercial pesticides, while my dependent variables is eliminating termites. My population is termites, so my question now is, what is the difference between water hyacinth extract and commercial pesticides in eliminating termites? Number 4. Creating a causality type of research questions. In my mind, I have the topics vixens, antiotes, hybrid red tilapia. I chose a type of questions which is causality, and I can begin my questions by what is the effect? My independent variables is vixen extract. My dependent variables is skin pigmentation. My identity group or population is hybrid red tilapia. So my question now is, what is the effect of vixens extracted from antiotes or Bixa orellans seeds to the skin pigmentation of hybrid red tilapia? Thank you. I hope you have learned something from our discussion. See you next time.